Daniel Kariuki, KTN News.
Now, confusion continued to be experienced countrywide on day 2 of the junior secondary schools admission. Claims of school fees, uniforms and lack of teachers continue to be reported in many schools. Issues that stakeholders want the government to address going forward. As Shadrach Miti reports, besides parents complaining about the high cost of grade 7 uniform, it's also emerging that boards of management had a difficult time explaining to parents the need for a unique uniform for grade 7 alone, without considering standard 8 learners who are considered the senior most in the same school.
The interim guidelines issued by the Minister of Education on the operationalization of junior secondary dictate that, among other things, a transition class must have at least 45 learners for the school to qualify to host junior secondary. A school with less than 45 learners joining grade 7, therefore, becomes a feeder school to the nearest junior secondary. While the government says the move ought to maximize on the use of limited facilities, it might pose a big challenge for schools with limited facilities, especially classrooms. Yet, they are expected to absorb learners from many feeder schools around.
Out of all our primary schools, it's only very few that were not able to meet the criteria, most likely that the enrollment was a little bit so small, and therefore it was not viable for us to have that particular primary school as a junior secondary school.
Meanwhile, despite numerous directives from the government on school uniform, many public junior secondary schools have gone against orders by the Minister of Education on uniform and other requirements.
Each and every school are now resorting to their various standards of admission. In some schools, I've had parents are being asked for money to admit students who sat in the same school.
Now they have developed their own fee structures. They are now demanding that before the students are admitted, they have to buy uniforms and a number of clothes from selected dealers.
That no principal, no board of management, no parent association, no any other person will be authorized to come up with unnecessary levies as registration fees.
It is, however, emerging that besides cost, boards of management for various public schools had a difficult time convincing parents about grade 7 uniform.
The vendors that we had identified are already working on the samples of uniforms, which will be given out tomorrow, and we hope to bring our parents on board.
There's a challenge with our shirt because it can't take a tie, and most of the parents feel that the junior secondary children should have a long tie. But when that was presented in the board, they were like, our shirt is checked now, which color of the tie do we have?
Meanwhile, private schools are now calling on the government to consider extending capitation to private schools in order to help ease the burden of congestion in public schools.
I think there is any school around here which is a public school that has facilities, all the facilities that are required. So maybe we would request the government to team up with the private schools. If possible, they can support those children that they are supporting in the public school, in our private school, because we have enough facilities and we can be of really great help.
What we are preparing them to do is to give them an induction on the learning areas that they will be learning in grade 7.
The Teacher Service Commission is supposed to deploy at least one teacher in every public junior secondary school.
We are yet to receive teachers from TSC and learning materials.
Shadrach Miti, KTN News.
And with that story, it's time for us to take a break. When we come back, I'll tell you why doctors are